Okay, so let's go ahead and move into the sacred circle, and let's get her going. I should also note, just before I go in, I had a little conversation with David Boji, the master, true storytelling there, and I had demonstrated for him at the last quantum storytelling conference the our little technique of the one word summary at the end of each little session before, and he just thought that was amazing. He's been trying it too, and he thinks it's a real breakthrough. And what spontaneously occurred in my mind was the idea of the universal breathing, the yin and yang that is happening with these stories. So you work hard on crafting the outlines of that story, and then when you come in and it's your turn, as we know, we get inspired, and the story just naturally expands to its comfortable limit. It encompasses, and it has a unity like a giant balloon, or a hot air balloon in my case. And then before the sacred session is over, and you've inflated your balloon and listened to all the other balloons, and then it sort of compresses back into a seed. What you really get is the expansion, the natural expansion to the natural limits, and compression down to that tiny little theme, almost like processing gold or something, or rendering gold. But you get the expansion and contraction, but it locks into the artifact of that one word that gets carried forward, and that really completes the cycle. And because it's a seed, it starts that next. It already implies that forward next cycle of growth. And then I realized, there's always the one seed that we comment on and commit to and think about, but there's all the other ones are still in there too. So you get a handful of seeds and you pick one. So anyway, he and I have been discussing a lot about the concept of artifacts as those anchoring points. So we've added that to the David Boji narrative science theory, or narrative inquiry theory. That and the idea of the sacred word at the end. So we're making important contributions to the community of practice. And I still can't get over how at the Quantum Storytelling Circle, the annual conference, you had all these expert storytellers from all these different disciplines and whatnot came together to talk and present their research and all that. And I ran one of these circles, and it was don't underestimate how hard it is to get a bunch of storytellers to shut up and listen. That was sort of the essence of the spontaneous lecture I gave them, because I watched their tendencies to just, hey, I'm just waiting for my turn to talk. So there was not really that idea of sacred listening and deep listening. And even with the Zoom, in their mind, even with the Zoom session, which they didn't think was going to be as good as in person, we did a mix. Within 15 minutes, 3 or 4 people were breaking down in tears, and there were hugs going on all over because of just the power of the existential feelings, the experiential moment when the story has been freed to really tell itself. That's really significant. I'd been thinking this weekend about some ideas of, hey, why don't you put a timer on people? And I rejected that idea because, or placed it in another context, because in the sacred story space, the whole point of this thing is to unpack everything else in order to free the story to be genuinely what it is. And that when that happens, you guys, as you know, are often surprised by what you found yourself saying next. And if you are walking into that circle with your own personal mental structure, hey, I'm going to fit it into these 3 minutes, or I'm going to try to score points or meet these other, you're trying to contain that story with whatever framework you're putting on it. Whereas the whole point of this thing is to get out of all of that, is to surrender to the story. And I've never said that phrase exactly in that way, but that's exactly what it is. It's having the courage and the trust and the confidence and the support from the circle to be able to surrender to the circle and surrender to the story. And the story knows how long it should be, and is respectful of the other people that are in the presence of the story. So it's not trying to hog the mic or anything like that. So I do want you to continue to be free to trust the story. Let it tell itself. And however long it takes is what it was needed. So I don't want you to feel under pressure or constraint to do that. And where else do you get that in the regular, business management, social world, where there's sort of all these other constraints always coming in that are causing you to make choices about what to reveal about the story or how to package it or how to comply with a certain formula or structure or format to fit in. We're not trying to fit in our stories into any other preconceived notion. The whole point of the sacred story space is to create the safe, trusted, truthful space that will expand with the story to the limits of the universe. The universe is large enough to contain that story, and it wants to hear it. So that was that was my moment of Zen, this week, and I wanted to reinforce that idea before I forgot. And much like what I just said, that's an example of a story that wanted to be told that I hadn't even prepared to tell, and there it is. So that's going to be my story for this week. Ho, and here we go